What's up everyone, John from ARTV. It's time for a review of the fourth studio album from the UK group Enter Shikari. This album is called The Mindsweep and it's coming out worldwide. I believe it's the 19th of January. What's different this time around, you're probably wondering, how has this band progressed in the 3 years that they've been away from the scene? I think that it's a little bit hard to describe their sound necessarily under one genre, post-hardcore, dance, a little bit of electronic. It's really all of the above, honestly, because they fuse all of these genres together and quite well. They're one of those bands that can kind of mix and match. They don't necessarily have to fall under one category in order for them to succeed. I think that Enter Shikari have succeeded for several different reasons, mainly for the fact that they dare to be different. In the world of the hard music scene, many bands settle for the same routines, churning out songs about being outcast, or suffering through relationships, or even your stereotypical thing where they try to make everything bigger and more epic than it actually is. Enter Shikari have no need for that, however, tackling actual problems in their songs. You'll hear Rue Reynolds, their lead vocalist, unleash on everything from healthcare laws to war and poverty in the UK on this new record, as the lads show us once again why they deserve to be on your radar. The aggression and tensions that have been brewing in the 3 years since the band's last studio effort, A Flash Flood of Color, are felt almost immediately on the opening track, The Appeal and The Mindsweep Part 1. You can feel Reynolds' spirit growing almost hostile as the instrumentation really just picks up at its intensity, and it demands that we listen up and really just pay attention to the issues that are on the table here. The drums begin to pound, the vocals begin to cry out for the end of ignorance, a problem that is so apparent all throughout the world, not only in the UK, and the listener is immediately controlled with this opening track. The whole album is really just another cry from a band that has the mentality of, hey, we might only be one entity, but I feel like we speak for many. And let's change things. Let's bring these issues to light and let's change something here. They're putting the change in motion, and let me tell you, there's more than enough enjoyable tunes to make you listen up to what they have to say. Here's the thing though, I don't live in the UK and I'm sure that a lot of my viewers don't either. But some of the things stated here on cuts like The One True Color and the dark and brooding Dear Future Historians ring true for all nations, not just England. In terms of sonic progression for Enter Shikari, I've got to commend them for incorporating new styles of music into their typical style and pulling it off the majority of the time in an explosive manner. Now granted, some of these cuts just do not interest me. Bank of England makes cries that are heard, but not necessarily felt. They don't really resonate with me, if you will. Some of the instrumentals here kind of feel like they lack an attitude and tenacity that I know they have. It's pent up and it unleashes on many of these tracks, but as a result, I just feel disappointed whenever it doesn't show up. The lead single, The Last Garrison, has really grown on me with time. Right off the bat, I didn't really have any strong feelings towards it, but with repeated listens, I like how it can incorporate kind of that chant-along chorus with those dance rhythms that work their way in and kind of make it an earwormy track, something that's very memorable, probably the most hooky chorus on this thing. The lyrics are still definitely typical Enter Shikari, crying out for something and really just demanding that, hey, pay attention and enjoy life. Find something that even in all of this chaos, thank fuck that you're still alive. I like that it's able to fuse those dance rhythms with a sense of harshness and a splendid drum performance. Not all of this record is perfect though, like I've said, and the problems usually lie within a lack of inertia. The album occasionally runs in circles, if you will. The charm can wear off after a while, and it makes you wonder how long they'll have something to write about. Politically edged bands burn out sometimes because it's hard to stay pissed off. I mean, it's been 10 years since we got an album from System of a Down, and I'm not necessarily attributing all of that to the fact that they have nothing to write about. There's obviously tensions within the band as well, but could it be a factor? Most definitely. There's other bands like 10 Years, Flowbots, Rise Against, the list goes on, and I'm not saying anything negative about any of those groups in particular, but sometimes it really feels like they're having to stretch to find something to write about. With that being said though, I don't find a ton of those problems on this record. I don't feel like they're really reaching for something to hold on to, something to complain about, something to cry out about, because there are a lot of issues in our world right now, and there are things that they've chosen to write about on this record. They seem like they were very selective, and they kind of whittled it down to a very, very good end result. There aren't that many negatives to this record, but there are a few cuts like The One True Color and Dear Future Historians that tend to drag, and the trance influences kind of wear thin in my opinion. I don't really care for There's a Price on Your Head either. I mentioned System of a Down earlier, and it really feels like they tried hard to create a similar vibe. The results are very chaotic, very messy, the guitar is a little bit too abrasive, the scream vocals feel a little bit forced and disingenuous compared to the more genuine and passionate ones that I had felt from Reynolds all throughout the rest of this record. I can't say that the symphonic outro is really doing anything for me personally either, but I'm sure that some fans will definitely vibe with this song. On the other hand though, they give us stellar tunes like Myopia and the cataclysmic Anaesthetist. God, that word is a mouthful. Anaesthetist. The latter of those is easily my favorite song on the LP, sending a strongly worded message aimed directly at the UK healthcare system, which seems to follow a pattern of keeping the lower class kind of down and out, while still blaming that very same class for the problems within the system. Enter Shikari don't take this lightly, and they make this dark and menacing track that tears into that upper class like a knife through butter. The anger here is raw and brutal, and they definitely pull off the symphonic and electronic additions seamlessly. I'm a bit conflicted on the track Torn Apart, which features a bit more of a clean style when compared to a lot of the songs here on this record. There's definitely a lot more singing, but I think that Reynolds proves that he has a very strong voice, and it definitely shows up in this song's latter half. Its final stage, he really just begins to cry out, and it's not necessarily a scream, it's those clean vocals, but still with a bit of desperation in there, and you can definitely hear like maybe even a few imperfections in the voice, but I think that's what makes it feel more genuine and more passionate, maybe even more emotive. The instrumental really builds up on this one with the bass, the guitars, and the pounding drums really just starting to surround them in its second half. It might have an odd start to the track, but I think that with time, this could easily turn into one of my favorites and probably a fan favorite. I'm not sure about the shelf life of this record because I can't say that their last album, A Flash Flood of Color, was something that I was constantly spinning. It had probably been about 2 years before I had heard it in full, before I heard it in preparation for this review. But the Mindsweep is definitely an impressive record that deserves to be spun at least a few times. I think that it shows improvements in some areas, but also shows a few things that could be tweaked and worked on and improved. For me, this record is a 4 out of 5. So if you've heard the Mindsweep from the UK group Enter Shikari, let me know your thoughts on it in the comment section down below. I love hearing back from you guys. Get the conversation going down there. Make sure you hit the like button on the video while you're at it. Maybe even subscribe to the channel if you do enjoy my reviews. I've got a lot more on the way, so I hope to see you very soon right here on the channel. Remember, you can always help the channel with a donation. I'm greatly appreciated for all you who have donated. It's the top link in the description down below. It helps me be able to do these reviews more often, get more content to you guys. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon right here on ARTV.